Frank Morris. Alcatraz was supposed to be escape-proof. It sat on an island surrounded by freezing water and strong currents. But Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin proved everyone wrong on June 11, 1962. They spent 6 months digging through their cell walls using stolen spoons and a drill made from a vacuum cleaner motor. They worked only at night during the loud music hour when guards couldn't hear them. To fool the guards during bed checks, they made dummy heads from soap, concrete, and real hair from the prison barbershop. They painted the faces and added real human hair to make them look real in the dark. The most brilliant part was their raft. They stole 50 raincoats and glued them together using steam from the prison pipes. They even made life vests the same way. On the night of the escape, they climbed through the holes in their cells into a utility corridor. Then they climbed 30 feet of pipes to reach the roof. They slid down the bakery smokestack and paddled away on their homemade raft. The FBI searched for 17 years but never found them. Were they eaten by sharks? Did they drown? Or did they make it to freedom? Nobody knows. Alcatraz closed just 1 year later because officials realized it wasn't escape-proof after all. El Chapo's tunnel system. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman was the most wanted drug lord in the world. Mexico put him in their most secure prison, Altiplano, which they claimed no one could escape. But El Chapo had billions of dollars and an army of engineers. For 1 full year, his team dug a tunnel 1 mile long and 33 feet underground. This wasn't just a hole in the ground. The tunnel had electric lights, air ventilation, and even a modified motorcycle on rails to move through it quickly. The tunnel came up in the exact spot under the shower in cell 20. This was the only place in his cell where cameras couldn't see. On July 11, 2015, El Chapo went to take a shower. Guards watched him walk behind the short wall. Then he disappeared. For 18 minutes, nobody noticed he was gone. By the time alarms went off, he was already miles away. The escape cost about $50 million, including bribes to prison officials. Some guards later admitted they were told to look the other way that night. This escape embarrassed Mexico so badly that they now send all major criminals to the United States for imprisonment. The wooden gun. John Dillinger was America's most famous bank robber in 1934. Police finally caught him and put him in Crown Point Jail in Indiana. This jail was supposedly escape-proof with dozens of guards and National Guard soldiers. But Dillinger had a plan that seemed too simple to work. Using a wooden washboard, he carved a fake gun. He used shoe polish to make the wood look like black metal. On March 3, 1934, he pulled out his gun and pointed it at a guard. The bluff worked perfectly. The wooden gun looked so real that guards put their hands up immediately. Dillinger walked past 12 guards and dozens of soldiers. Not one person questioned whether the gun was real. He even locked up 33 jail employees in cells before leaving. Then he stole Sheriff Lillian Holly's car and drove to Chicago. When he crossed the state line, it became a federal crime. This single escape led to the creation of the FBI as we know it today. The government realized they needed a federal police force to chase criminals across state lines. Later, guards testified in court that they truly believed the gun was real. The Maze Prison Mass Escape. September 25, 1983, saw the biggest prison escape in British history. The Maze Prison in Northern Ireland held members of the IRA, a group fighting against British rule. For 6 months, 38 prisoners planned every detail. They smuggled in guns piece by piece. They made exact copies of guard uniforms. Most incredibly, they got perfect replicas of all the prison keys. The prisoners studied guard routines and knew exactly when shifts changed. On escape day, they took over H Block 7 and captured 20 guards as hostages. Some prisoners dressed in the stolen guard uniforms and simply walked through checkpoints. Others hijacked a food delivery truck. They drove it straight through the main gates while real guards waved them through. 35 prisoners made it outside the prison walls. Though police caught 15 immediately, the others disappeared into the countryside. This escape shocked Britain so much that they completely redesigned how maximum security prisons work. They added multiple identity checks, better cameras, and new rules about prison vehicles. Helicopter escapes. Pascal Piet loved helicopters, and he used them to escape prison 3 different times. His first escape was from Luynes prison in France on October 12, 2001. Friends hijacked a helicopter and picked him up from the exercise yard. But Piet wasn't selfish. In 2003, he came back to the same prison in another hijacked helicopter. This time he helped 3 other inmates escape with him. The guards couldn't believe someone would return to the prison they had escaped from. Police caught Piet again, but he wasn't done. On July 14, 2007, Bastille Day, he escaped from Grasse prison in yet another helicopter. He picked this day because the sky was full of aircraft for the national celebration. His helicopter blended in perfectly. Each time, Piatt used different methods to get helicopters. Once he had accomplices take fake flying lessons. Another time they hijacked a tourist helicopter. After his escapes, every prison in Europe installed steel cables and nets over their exercise yards. No prisoner has successfully used a helicopter to escape in Europe since then. Yoshie Shiratori's. Yoshie Shiratori was a Japanese thief who became famous for escaping prison 4 times. Each escape was more incredible than the last. In 1936, he escaped a Mori prison by dislocating his shoulders and hips. This let him squeeze through the food delivery slot in his cell door. Guards found his empty cell in the morning with no explanation. In 1942, at Akita prison, guards put him in handcuffs 24 hours a day. But Shiratori noticed the miso soup corroded metal. Every day for months, he poured a little soup on his cuffs. Finally, they broke. His third escape from Abashiri prison in 1944 seemed impossible. The prison had smooth, high walls nobody could climb, but Shiratori noticed moisture made tiny holes in the walls. Each night, he climbed a little higher, memorizing every handhold. One night, he made it over. His final escape from Sapporo prison in 1947 took 6 months of patient work. He loosened floorboards using only his spit to rot the wood. Guards kept putting him in escape-proof cells, but he always found a way out. Japan completely redesigned their prison system because of him. Today, he's a folk hero in Japan, with movies and books about his incredible escapes. Colditz Castle glider. Colditz Castle in Germany held Allied officers during World War II. The Nazis said it was escape-proof. British prisoners decided to prove them wrong by building an airplane in the attic. This sounds impossible, but they actually did it. Using bed slats, floorboards, and sleeping bags, they built a 2-man glider with a 33-foot wingspan. The whole plane weighed only 240 pounds. They built it in complete secret in the chapel attic. To hide their work, prisoners created a fake wall that looked exactly like the real one. They posted lookouts who used a system of signals to warn when guards were coming. The glider took 10 months to build. They planned to launch it from the roof using a pulley system powered by a falling bathtub full of concrete. The war ended before they could try it, but in 2012, engineers built an exact copy. It flew perfectly, proving the prisoners' plan would have worked. This escape attempt showed how clever and determined prisoners of war could be. Alfred Hines' 3 courtroom escapes. Alfred Hines was a British safecracker who claimed police framed him. He escaped from prison 3 times, each time from a courthouse. His first escape from Nottingham prison in 1953 was simple but brilliant. He saw a guard's key for just a few seconds. From memory alone, he made a copy that worked perfectly. In 1957, he escaped from a court bathroom. For 8 months during legal visits, he had been loosening the lock on the door. Guards never noticed because he always put it back together. His third escape in 1958 was from Chelmsford Court. Weeks before, during a court appearance, he had tampered with a padlock. On escape day, the lock opened easily and he walked out. While on the run, Hines did something nobody expected. He sued the prison system for illegal imprisonment and won. He proved in court that police had no real evidence against him. The judge had to declare him innocent while he was still an escaped prisoner. These escapes changed how prisoners go to court. Now they wear special chains and have multiple guards watching them at all times. The Texas 7. On December 13, 2000, 7 maximum security inmates pulled off one of the smoothest prison escapes ever. They were in the Connolly unit in Texas, a prison for the most dangerous criminals. The 7 men spent weeks watching guard patterns. They knew exactly when shifts changed and where every guard would be. They put on maintenance worker clothes they had stolen over time. Then they called supervisors to a maintenance room, claiming there was a problem. When officials arrived, the 7 overpowered them without violence. Over 2 hours, they captured and tied up 13 prison employees. They took 14 guns, boxes of ammunition, guard uniforms, and a prison truck. Not a single shot was fired. They even left sandwiches and water for the tied-up guards. The escape wasn't discovered until the overnight head count, giving them a huge head start. After this, every prison in America changed their rules. Now all prisons locked down completely during shift changes, with no prisoner movement allowed. Giacomo Casanova. Before he became famous as a lover, Giacomo Casanova was a prisoner in Venice in 1756. He was locked in the lead prisons, cells under the roof of the Doge's palace. The cells were called the leads because the roof was made of lead plates that made them unbearably hot in summer and freezing in winter. Casanova found an iron bar in the prison yard during exercise. He hid it in his cell and spent months digging through the ceiling, but then guards moved him to a different cell. Thinking quickly, Casanova hid the bar inside a large Bible and had it sent to a monk in the next cell. He convinced the monk to dig into Casanova's cell from above. On October 31, 1756, the monk broke through. They climbed through the hole and found themselves in the palace above the prison. They stole noble clothes from a storage room and simply walked out the front door. Guards assumed they were visiting aristocrats. Casanova wrote a detailed book about his escape that became the blueprint for escape stories for centuries. Devil's Island. Henri Charrier, nicknamed Papillon for his butterfly tattoo, was sent to the French penal colony in French Guiana. Devil's Island was surrounded by shark-filled water and thick jungle. Most prisoners died from disease or violence. Papillon tried to escape 8 times over 13 years. Each failure meant 2 years in solitary confinement, a concrete box with no light. He stayed sane by solving math problems in his head and reliving every memory of his life. For his final escape, Papillon studied ocean currents for months. He threw coconuts into the sea and watched where they went. He realized that at certain times, the current flowed toward the mainland. On November 18, 1941, he jumped into the ocean on a bag of coconuts. For 3 days, he floated 1,200 miles to Venezuela. He nearly died from sun exposure and dehydration. But he made it and lived free for the rest of his life. His story caused such outrage that France closed all its penal colonies in 1953. Jack Sheppard's for escapes. Jack Sheppard was a thief in London in 1724, but he became famous for escaping prison. He broke out of Newgate prison 4 times in 1 year using incredible climbing skills and basic tools. His third escape involved climbing down 6 stories of sheer wall using only bedsheets tied together. For his 4th escape on October 15, 1724, things seemed impossible. He was wearing 300 pounds of chains and locked behind 6 different doors. But Sheppard used a small nail to pick the lock on his chains. Then he broke through the chimney of his cell. He climbed onto the roof and broke into nearby cells, going through 6 locked doors total. Each door took hours to break, but he kept going. When London woke up, Sheppard was drinking in a tavern, still wearing his broken chains as proof of his escape. Over 200,000 people, 1/3 of London's population, came to see his eventual execution. His escapes led to the complete rebuilding of Newgate Prison with new security measures that became the model for modern prisons. The Alcatraz battle escape attempt. While the 1962 Alcatraz escape was clever, the 1946 attempt was pure violence. 6 inmates decided to fight their way out on May 2, 1946. Bernard Coy had starved himself for months to get thin enough to squeeze through bars he had secretly bent wider. Once through, he overpowered a guard and captured the gun gallery, where all the weapons were stored. The 6 inmates now had guns and control of the cell house. They released other prisoners and took guards as hostages. But they couldn't find the key to the yard door. Without it, they were trapped. For 48 hours, they fought against guards, police, and eventually the Marines. The Marines had to use grenades and drilling holes in the roof to drop bombs. 3 inmates and 2 guards died in the battle. The prison looked like a war zone afterward. This violent attempt led to the creation of special prison SWAT teams. It also showed that even with guns, escaping from Alcatraz was nearly impossible. The Great Train Robbery Gang. Ronnie Biggs was part of the gang that robbed a mail train in England in 1963. They stole millions of pounds. Police caught Biggs and sentenced him to 30 years in Wandsworth Prison. But on July 8, 1965, he escaped in a carefully planned breakout. Friends threw a rope ladder over the 30-foot wall during exercise period. Biggs and 3 other prisoners climbed over while hundreds of inmates caused chaos in the yard to distract guards. A furniture van was waiting outside with a hidden compartment. Biggs hid inside and escaped while police searched every normal car leaving the area. He fled to Australia, then Brazil, where British law couldn't touch him. For 36 years, he lived free, even giving interviews to British newspapers. He became so famous that movies were made about him while he was still on the run. His escape led to electronic monitoring systems and higher walls with motion sensors at every British prison.